All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into the massive, mysterious, and, let's be honest, often misunderstood island of Greenland. It is a land of giants, a place of just raw, wild beauty, and, as we're about to find out, the subject of one of the greatest marketing ploys in history. So, let's just start with that classic riddle that seems to trip everybody up. Why is Iceland the green one and Greenland the icy one? It feels like someone messed up on a map, but the real story? It's way more interesting than just a simple mistake. Get this, the whole thing was intentional. We're talking about a 1,000-year-old marketing ploy. There was a Viking, Eric the Red, who got himself banished from Iceland, and well, he ended up on this massive island. To try and lure other settlers over to his new, very icy home, he gave it the best name he could possibly think of, Greenland. It was the ultimate big white lie. Okay, so if it's not exactly green, what is it really like? Let's look past the name, because even though Eric the Red was definitely stretching the truth, he wasn't exactly pointing people toward a totally empty wasteland. Yes, a gigantic ice sheet covers about 84% of the island. The whole middle of it is basically uninhabitable. But all the life, every single one of its 56,000 residents, is crammed along this rugged, stunning coastline full of fjords. It creates this world of just incredible contrasts. And you can actually see this adaptation in the towns. To fight back against that endless white of the winter, the houses are painted in these amazingly vibrant colors. You see these bright reds, blues, and yellows. It's a very deliberate splash of life against a backdrop of snow and rock. And hey, if you're thinking about a road trip, yeah, think again. Not a single road connects any two towns in the whole of Greenland. In Tasselok, which is one of the bigger settlements, the longest road is just 3 kilometers. So getting around here, it requires a completely different way of thinking. So, if there are no roads, how on earth do people get from place to place? Well, that's where the real adventure kicks in. Transportation here isn't just a commute. It's a test of your patience and, for sure, your flexibility. A typical journey in Greenland is basically an epic saga. You might land on a gravel runway, have your luggage brought to you by a forklift, and then you hop on a helicopter to get to the next town over, only to finish the whole trip on a boat that's dodging icebergs. So here's the crucial point. The weather is 100% in charge, and your plans will change. Patience isn't just a nice thing to have here, it's an absolute necessity. But honestly, that unpredictable journey is exactly what makes the experience so unique and so unforgettable. So you've survived the commute. Now, what do you actually get to see? You see giants. We're talking giants of ice that are almost impossible to wrap your head around, and giants of history, some of which are just plain weird. One of the main events is something called calving. It is literally the sound of the Arctic, this thunderous crack as huge pieces of a glacier just break off and crash into the sea. That's it. That's an iceberg being born. It is this dramatic, violent, incredible birth of these floating mountains. And when we say colossal chunks, we really mean it. It is so hard to grasp the scale, but a lot of the icebergs you'll just see floating around in the fjords, they're taller than a jumbo jet is long. And you have to remember, you're only seeing the top 10% of it. The rest is this enormous underwater structure. But the landscape holds more than just ancient ice. Dotted all along the coast, you'll find these remnants of human history, everything from 1,000-year-old Viking ruins to the strange rusting relics of the 20th century. Okay, one of the strangest sights you can possibly find is a place called Bluey East 2. It was a U.S. Army airbase during World War II. And when the war was over, they didn't, pack up and go home. They just left. Everything. And by left, I mean they left trucks, machinery, and 200,000 empty, rusting oil drums just scattered all over this pristine landscape. For decades, it was this surreal junkyard and an ecological nightmare. A massive cleanup only really got started in recent years. So who actually lives in this land of epic contrasts, surrounded by ice giants and rusting barrels? Well, the answer is a lot more varied than you might think. The locals include majestic humpback whales breaching right next to icebergs and about 15,000 sled dogs. And it's really important to know, these are tough-as-nails work animals, not fluffy pets. The human population is 88% Inuit, and they're known for being incredibly warm and hospitable. And then there are the bugs. In summer, swarms of them. A face net is not a fashion choice, it is a survival tool. The food? Oh man, the food tells a story of two worlds just colliding. Thanks to Greenland's connection to Denmark, you get this fascinating mix. So one meal might be traditional foods like dried seal or whale meat, and the very next could be a Danish-style hot dog, or maybe a slice of chocolate cake from a local school fundraiser. Trying the traditional food is definitely a must for any adventure, but it is an acquired taste. Seal fat, for example, was historically used kind of like salt to flavor other foods. As one traveler so bluntly put it after trying some, it's not for everybody. So after all the ice, the crazy history, and the seal fat, what's the big takeaway from this incredible place? The real Greenland experience, it isn't about checking things off a list. It's about letting go. It's about accepting that nature's in charge, that your helicopter might get canceled because of fog, and that the most beautiful moments are always the ones you never ever plan for. It's a place that just gets under your skin. It's a land of wild simplicity that feels like this powerful antidote to our crazy modern lives. It challenges your perspective and just leaves you with this profound sense of awe. So after all that, I guess the only question left is, what part of this incredible adventure would you choose first?